You got to look at it like this. The day is coming. It's not going to be soon. It's going to take a while to get rid of this cancer, but the day is coming where your favorite media sources aren't going to be able to get away with what they get away with right now. But here's the great news. And even though the news stories are tough these days, and they are, we can't determine what the news is. What we can do is take action and call them out on it. And I promise you, as I sit here today, they know we're onto them. All of these lying media sources, because you know what my angle is. They are the bane of my existence. This is why I take shots at them all the time. All the confusion, all the distrust, all of the fear, all of the paranoia, and now all of the violence you're seeing in all these news stories that they report on, it's all coming from them. The media did this, but it's okay. Here's the light at the end of this. We're onto them. And it's going to take a while, but the more you mock them, the more you call them out, the more you show your friends and everybody else that they've been lying for not years. They've been doing this for decades. The more you do that, the more we're going to spread light. The light is coming. It's coming, and it's starting. A crack in the light. It's shining the light on the rats in the media is already starting to happen. With that said, sorry, I know I'm all worked up today because I'm so sick of these media outlets covering for the violence that they helped generate. And they did, and that's an honest-to-God truth. But the reason why they're in such a panic is because more and more of us realize exactly what they've done. So we'll talk about the Dallas ICE shooting. But this also bleeds into sports coverage as well. Sports journalism, I don't know if you're a sports fan. I don't know if you've watched ESPN or any of your favorite leagues recently. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you're disgusted by that. I don't know. But it's just as bad in sports journalism. Trust me. Sports media has been awful. And they always do. They may be even worse than mainstream news media because they always have this cover. Well, let's remember. This is sports. It's supposed to be entertainment. But if I was to offer an opinion, this is how they cover for it. So we'll talk about that in the awful announcing story from a Mets announcer taking shots at a Cubs player who dared to honor his close friend, Charlie Kirk, and go to his funeral. And the Mets announcer decided to take shots at the kid. We're on to him. We're on to them all. I promise you there'll be light at the end of this. All right, first of all, business. Thanks for finding the Wicked Radio live stream. Replay, all that good stuff, even the audio podcast and all your favorite networks, channels, platforms, whatever. Let's get into it. You already heard the story right now in Dallas. Another rooftop shooting onto an ICE facility. Bullets on the ground, the casings with anti-ICE messaging. Unfortunately, this lunatic shot a migrant, not his intended target, apparently. But that didn't stop this left-wing media from scurrying to the newsrooms to try to cover it. First of all, as it so happens, our Vice President J.D. Vance, who, by the way, did you notice this? Did you notice he's going on offense more recently since the Charlie Kirk thing? I don't think that's going to stop. I don't know for sure, but I think he's found like an avenue there. He's found a lane where he's going to be the bad cop and the good cops kind of situation here. And I like him like this personally. But anyway, fresh off that story, he had a speaking engagement and, of course, kind of directed all of the messaging to what exactly had just happened and took a lot of shots at the media and what's been happening here with the violence and where it's coming from.
I don't know if you all have followed the news, and we're still learning a little bit about it, but what we know is that in Dallas, Texas, an ICE facility, an Immigrations and Customs Enforcement facility, was opened fire upon by a violent left-wing extremist, a person who wrote anti-ICE messaging on their bullets, and there's some evidence that we have that's not yet public, but we know this person was politically motivated. They were politically motivated to go after law enforcement. They were politically motivated to go after people who are enforcing our border. And I think that is the most disgusting thing.
Well, that was it. That's what kicked it off because it was the vice president speaking. He actually was able to get national news coverage before all the weasels in the left-wing media were able to put this together and come up with some kind of a game plan. So you know exactly what happened. When he spoke, they said, oh, boy, he's on to us. Oh, boy. And this is how it works. It sounds like I'm exaggerating, but I swear to you, this is exactly how the media sausage is made. This is exactly how it goes down. I don't care whether you're talking about MSNBC, CNN, CBS, NBC, ABC, whatever. Pick it. I don't care. I don't care what it is. Even just some online programming. What happens in that instance is, Vance is already talking about, okay, all right, what do we do? Okay, here's the talking points. Here's what we do. Here's what we're gonna project. We're gonna spin it. We're gonna spin this and say, why are they doing this? We need to tone down the rhetoric. That's what we'll do. And we'll here's your talking point. We'll send it out there and say, we're not sure yet what the motivation was. And then we'll tie all these shootings, all these things together. That's the messaging. Go. And that's exactly what they did. And you know they did it, and they're all in coordination with each other. This is another little-known fact about media newsrooms that a lot of people don't understand. They're all in connection with each other. They share notes, they share information, they share sources, and they share messaging. This is why you often see on a lot of these mainstream media networks the exact same thing being said at the exact same time, quite often at the direction of their favorite politicians who run them. So, what happened? This is one of the first reports. Of course, MSNBC went on and they said, get the spin out there. Try to tell them, get the spin out there. Get ahead of the story and try to tell them that we're not sure we don't know what the motivation was. Here's one of the first reports after it happened.
You can't just assume by that, what was written on that shell casing, that that's necessarily his motivation. He could have been doing that to thinking it was funny, trying to put law enforcement on the wrong track. This is where, when you analyze the person's phone, computer, talk to his family and friends, that you get an idea of what his motivation perhaps really.
Yeah. We don't know what his motivation was. Yeah, that's sure. He might have thought it was funny. Can you see? You can tell, you can sense the struggle in that dude's voice trying to spin that. He doesn't even believe it. Like if that guy was at a cocktail party and tried to tell me that story, I'd look at him and go, really? And he'd probably go, well, not really. I don't know, maybe. But that was one of the first out there. But then when it went all night last night, then went on the 6 o'clock things and the same messaging from the same exact networks, all saying the same thing. We don't know. We don't know what the motivation was. Just like they're trying to spin it, and they got the messaging, and they got the direct marching orders to Jimmy Kimmel. We don't know what Charlie Kirk's shooter was all about. We don't know. And then that morphed into this morning. Just this morning. Morning Joe. Let's go back to MSNBC for this one. Morning Joe. Now it's morphed into, we don't know what the motivation of the shooter was. Now they morph that into, why is MAGA, why are conservatives, why is the Trump administration, why are they trying to blame it on the left? Why are they doing this? We need to tone down the rhetoric. Here's what they did just this morning.
Why do they do this? Like, why is it so important for them? Instead of trying to bring the country together, why is it so important for them to try to tear us apart? Why are they doing this? Why is J.D. Vance continuing to lie when Cato, when CSIS, when every other study shows that the predominance of political violence in America has come from the right? And again, you don't hear.
Oh, there it is. Oh, studies. Okay, let's wait for a study. Let's not use common sense of what's happening. And in many cases, the words of the assassins and shooters themselves. Let's not go by that. Let's wait for a study. Oh, gee. Take 3 guesses who was behind and funded that study. Well, why? Why are they doing this? And then perpetuated the latest hoax, the latest thing. When we know that it's all coming from the right. This is why they pushed for the last few years this whole thing about white supremacy. You probably never heard it before in your life, but you heard it from the media. It's white supremacy. They tried to pretend like it's this big uprising thing. White supremacists. What are there, like 5 of them somewhere in a prison in Oklahoma? Where are the white supremacists? Because I'll be honest with you, I don't see them. And I'm sure it's there. And I'm sure there are right-wing, far-right loonies too. But this is one of the smartest things I heard after the Charlie Kirk tragedy. One of the smartest things to get people to understand this is this phrase. All the bullets are coming from the left. Aren't they? Look at the last 10 school shootings. Look at the assassinations. Look at this latest incident where this idiot tried to shoot ICE officers, and apparently it wasn't a good shot, and he shot an immigrant. Look at where it's all coming from. Another example? Okay, let's go to a story that wasn't widely covered. I didn't even talk about it. You and I didn't discuss this. This past weekend, a lunatic shot up a wedding in Little Nashua, New Hampshire. didn't get a lot of coverage because maybe it's just the little granite state, right? Nobody pays attention. Nobody cares about that one. If this was a bigger story, they're going to try to tell you that this is some kind of a right-winger. Here's a witness at the scene. Shot up a wedding. Tell me, we don't know the motivation. Well, talk to witnesses. They know. They don't need a study.
Get the sense that they knew who.
Didn't hear anything. He just came out and said.
What he said.
Yeah, what he said was the children are safe and free Palestine.
What was that moment like when you heard that?
Oh, free Palestine. Shut up a wedding. Oh, I'm sure we don't know the motivation there. Let's wait for a study. I'm sure that's a white supremacist because we all know a lot of white supremacists who go shooting up weddings shouting free Palestine, don't we? Good God Almighty. But again, I'll vent for you. The good news is here. The reason why they're scurrying so quickly in their newsrooms to get these misinformation messages out there is because they know we're onto us. Trust in media is now in the single digits, and that's a beautiful thing. It's good. Trust me on this one. So don't believe that crap. Listen to witnesses. But do your own investigation. This is why I'm such a fan of X now, is because, you can't look at like a platform like X as a network. Like you can't call it like NBC or, anything. There are 600 million active users on X. There are investigative journalists who are totally independent, like true journalists on there. Follow them. Get the information you can. We have the information now. We are the media now. Like Elon said, he's exactly right about that. That's why these media outlets are in such a panic. Like I said, it's not just news media, and you may not pay attention to this. I'm just such a big sports fan, as you can tell. So, I kind of get a lot of this from, sports media and sports coverage. If you've paid any attention to ESPN and their social engineering messaging and their bias recently, in last 10 years, it's just as bad, if not worse. It may be worse because sports coverage always cover and they have this shield of, well, we're entertainment. We're entertainment. We don't get into that stuff. But let me tell you what we think. I mean, talk shows have taken it over, and now even play-by-play announcers in Major League Baseball. Here's the background of this story. There's a player for the Cubs named Matt Shaw, and this is very relevant to the story because he was a very close personal friend of Charlie Kirk. Keep that in mind when we give you the details of the story. Matt Shaw of the Cubs, personal friend of Charlie Kirk. Charlie was a big Cubs fan, just happened to be, right? He goes on to say he texted him after every game, okay? And when the tragedy that we all know about happened with Charlie, Matt Shaw of the Cubs got a personal invitation from Erica Kirk. So he's a family friend. So he went to the memorial with permission from his team and his teammates with the Chicago Cubs to go to this memorial. Now, if you had a personal family friend assassinated at a public speaking event on a college campus, would you go to his memorial? Would you skip on work that day? Yeah, I think you would. Because your common sense and you have a soul and a heart. I would too. Oh, but that's not enough. Oh, hold on a minute. We got Gary Cohen. We got Gary Cohen. Oh, I know everything. Mets announcer. Now keep in mind for a second. You're a Mets announcer. I get it that you know your team better than you would the Chicago Cubs, but still, you're a Major League Baseball play-by-play announcer. Has been doing it for years in the number one media market in the country. But you don't know enough about an opposing team's player, don't know enough about his personal story to know about him before you take shots at the guy. And the way he does it is just absolutely, I'm flabbergasted. Because you'll hear here, it's a little bit long, Gary Cohen opines, in his opinion, he thinks it's weird. He thinks it's weird that Travis Shaw took time off to go to a personal event. But this is how they cover it. He says, but I don't want to get into the politics of the whole thing. Here it is. Here's how it started. And then we'll hear from Travis Shaw himself and the reasoning of it. And when you hear from Matt Shaw himself, the player, you'll see how ridiculous Gary Cohen sounds. This is the announcement from the other night. It's a little bit long.
Shaw leads off for the Cubs. He had a base hit his first time up. Shaw had Cubs World in a tizzy this weekend when he was not here for the Cubs game with the Reds. Game they lost 1-0, and in which his lack of presence was felt. It was later revealed that he had been given permission to attend Charlie Kirk's funeral. And I don't want to talk about any of the politics of it, but the thought of leaving your team in the middle of a race for any reason other than a family emergency really strikes me as weird.
I'm Gary Cohen. I love this. I don't want to get into the politics of the whole thing, but I think well, you just did, you jackass. And keep in mind, again, you're a Major League Baseball team announcer with the Mets, but you don't know enough about an opposing player. You don't know enough about his personal story and his friendship with the guy whose funeral, his memorial he attended, to be able to get your facts straight before you opined on it. And you cover it with, I don't want to get into the politics of the whole thing, but if I did, What an idiot. Made worse when you hear Matt Shaw's version of the story. This is where he tells you he's a close personal friend and at the personal invitation of Erica Kirk went to the memorial. Nice job, Gary.
I've talked to, and really the whole team, having their support was really important to me. And then, Charlie, he was someone that I met at the apartments in Arizona where I lived, and then someone who was one of the biggest Cubs fans I ever met. And he texted me after every game, great win for the Cubbies, and he was super, super supportive of us, and obviously someone who was really faithful, so we connected on that front as well. But yeah, his wife Erica had texted me asking me if I would come to the funeral.
How tough would it have been for Gary Cohen? I don't want to get into the politics of the whole thing, but it's weird that you left to go to this funeral. How tough would it have been as a they have access to all these players to ask him why before you talked about it? How tough would that have been? Really that tough? And how stupid does Gary Cohen look now when you find Matt Shaw himself saying he was a close personal friend, had been in constant communication after Cubs games with Charlie Kirk, and got a personal invitation to go to the memorial, had complete permission from his team ownership and his teammates to leave a game to go to this thing. But I don't want this whole thing, but I think it's weird. I think it's weird that he left a team to go to this thing. Stupid. Just stupid. Nobody said, whether it's sports or news coverage or anything in the media, nobody ever said that they're smart. Don't ever start to think that they're any smarter than you or anybody else or anybody in your friend group or your family. They just have the power of the media behind them, and it's infuriating. Whether it's scurrying to cover all this violence and to try to muddy the waters and screw up the message and project it, to try to tell you it's coming from the side that it's not coming from, or a sports announcer that is cluelessly taking shots at a guy he doesn't know. Either way. But the good news, again, as infuriating that is they all know we're onto them. They all know. It's not going to happen too soon, but the day is coming when the media is going to have to be honest because everybody has access to information now. That's the good takeaway on all this infuriating stuff. So don't buy it and do your own research. You can find a lot of that for independent journalists on X. You can do it. All right. Is tomorrow Friday? Fact check me. I think it is. For God's sakes, let's hope we have some light and fluffy stories. We may. If not, we'll turn it into something positive. Here's something positive that may send us into the weekend. Comey may get indicted. Oh, yeah. How about that? James Comey? Indictment? Maybe? But there'll be some lighter stuff, too, for Friday. I'm telling you, it's coming up. So with all that said, make it a wicked awesome Thursday. Don't buy this media crap because you don't have to anymore. Make it a great day. I'll talk to you tomorrow.